And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Here, Lucas from Mars, again with another episode of this MLB The Show 22 Custom League. And we continue with the offseason here in year one, going into year two. And this episode is going to be full of some big-time trades that are going to be going down here. And we start with this one, Clint Kershaw. They got re-signed by Charlotte. I should have traded him at the trade deadline of last year, but I did not end up doing that, and so I'm trading him here now for the Charlotte Pilots. And, well, last year it was pretty good for him. There you see his numbers at 211 innings pitched. He had a 3.11 ERA and a 1.06 WHIP. And, I mean, he is just one of the best pitchers of all time. I mean, almost 3,000 strikeouts. He might get that number there next season, maybe. We'll see if he's going to get close to 3,000 strikeouts for sure. He's almost at 200 career wins and, 2,666 innings. So, yeah, Clint Kershaw, a veteran presence there, a veteran ace at 35 years old now this year, and he is going to the Stars. Nashville was trying to get a pitcher in free agency, and they just could not find one. They offered at a bunch of different players, and they did not end up getting anybody. So they're going to get Clint Kershaw here. They're going to trade Sammy Siani for him. Sammy Siani here, 51 and 54 contact ratings. A B potential player. It looked like his potential went up a little bit after last year. He's a 68 overall now, and I'm not sure how much he improved by with those ratings or anything, but still improved pretty good. And, I mean, not a lot of power, the vision, the discipline at 42 and 50. So he's still got a couple of years away, probably, from being a major league contributor, but he's a guy with some decent potential and a decent prospect there. That first baseman is a C potential guy, low overall, but the bigger guy in this trade here is Paul Stevenson, another B potential pitcher here, but a guy that did really well. Did really well in between AA and AAA last year. Had a potential increase as well, and is a 73 overall. And, those are good stats there, 61 and 62 and 63. That K per 9, the per 9s are pretty good there. His lowest is a 52 home run per 9. So, decent control there at 46, 83 velocity, 78 break. And so, he'll be figuring into this starting rotation immediately, I think. He's only 20 years old, so we'll see. I mean, the Stars are not going to be very good next season, so Paul Stevenson might pitch in the majors for them, but Stars confirming this trade with the Pilots, and it looks like they're going to accept this, and so that is going to be the first big major trade that we will see in this off-season here. As, you see there's the pitching staff right now for the Charlotte Pilots, and it's not very good. I mean, they only have 2 pitchers on that staff at the moment. But, there's the Stars rotation, and they just added a big-time ace to their staff here. So, Michael Wacha is probably going to be moved more to a bullpen role this season. But you got Clint Kershaw there now. He's their true ace. And then Syndergaard, Gonzalez, Antonio Senzatella, who they'd gotten in a trade in last season. And Mackenzie Gore, who will be pitching in his rookie campaign going into next season. He pitched a little bit at the end of last year. But that's what that Nashville rotation is going to look like. And I think, Nashville, I mean, they are already a pretty good team, but they needed some pitching. They got a good relief option there in the offseason. I can't remember who that relief pitcher was that they got, but overall, really, really good relief pitcher that they ended up getting as well in the offseason. And so I think that pitching staff is a lot better now. So we go to the Spiders here, and they're going to look to trade Trey Mancini, a first baseman, got a B potential, I believe, and, B potential, 31 years old. Kind of one of those veteran presences here. He's got 3 years on his contract. They just re-signed him, and they're going to trade him here, and so we're kind of trying to look for a move, but here it is. We found one here. Trey Mancini and D.L. Hall and Matt O'Neill are going to the Sharks here. The Sharks need a first baseman. Max Muncy went away in free agency. He signed with the Monarchs, so Trey Mancini is going to be that replacement there for Max Muncy at first base. And, had a potential increase. I think I increased his potential. It was actually at a C at the beginning of the year, but I increased his potential because he had a really good season here, and he's got great hitting ratings, and over 800 OPS last season, 27 home runs and 79 RBIs with 27 doubles, so that's a really good season there by Mancini, a 342 on base percentage. So one of the better first basemen, and overall just a great story, coming back from cancer in real life, but man, he's a great player there. And they're going to go and trade him to the Sharks, and in return, Jeremy De La Rosa is a big part of this trade here. Beat potential, I think it's like 85 or 86 potential. And 21 years old, but, 66 overall. Not amazing hitting ratings here. I mean, the vision and the discipline are very low for him. The contact versus righties is pretty good. His defense is decent. I think he's still probably a couple of years away, though. The main guy, though, in this move is a pitcher here in Gunnar Hoagland. He's a top 50 prospect in baseball right now. High beat potential. Pitcher here, 70 overall, 23 years old, and he's a pitcher that's ready to pitch right now in the majors. And again, those K-9s, not elite at anything here necessarily, but all those ratings are decent across the board. High 50s. Mid-50s in every single one of those stats, 56, 53, 58, and 57 in the per nines. Only going to throw, 92 with that four-seamer, 91 with the two-seam, so he doesn't have a lot of velocity to his pitches, but, I believe he's pitching in real life right now. But, yeah, starting pitcher here, he's going to be pitching probably this season for the Spiders here, and looks to be a fixture of their rotation going forward in the future. So that's the trade for Trey Mancini. Both those sides accepting that deal there. And that's a big move for both of these teams, but especially for the Sharks, who get their first baseman back on their team here. And, they got Dansby Swanson. They re-signed him. Roberto Escobar, Ian Happ, Polanco, Walker, and Taylor Walls is right now starting there. I don't know if he will actually start when the season begins. But, yeah, that's a big signing there for the San Diego Sharks, and we'll see what he can do. See what he can do going into the regular season here. But, yeah, the Spiders right now, they are in a team in rebuilding mode a little bit here. Their star is Ozzy Albies, but they got Colton Cowser, who's going to be starting for them. In the regular season, they got Tyler O'Neill, Kirk Casale, they re-signed him. I don't really know why I'm looking at the lineups, because that move did not impact their lineup at all, but Gunnar Hoagland now is starting pitcher for them. Okay, we're going to move on, and we're going to get to another trade here. The Rhinos and Firebirds making a deal. Eddie Rosario being traded here for the Rhinos, and Eddie Rosario, I believe, has a couple of years left on his contract, but a C potential player, but 80 overall guy. His hitting stats, besides his power versus lefties, very, very good. And overall, last season, he was decent for sure. 19 home runs, 78 RBIs. That was one of the higher RBI numbers on the team there. 31 doubles, a 758 OPS. So, an average hitter here for Richmond. And, a guy that's, 31 years old. But, decent hitting ratings here. And he's going to be a free agent at the end of this regular season for the Firebirds. But the Firebirds kind of need that outfielder there. They're looking for outfield help, and they'll get it here. And then they're going to get Pedro Strop as well from the Rhinos, a 37-year-old relief pitcher here, who pitched 62 innings last year and pitched pretty well. A 3.48 ERA for him and a 1.26 whip. Not terrible numbers there by Pedro Strop at all. Again, that's going to get you a lot of strikeouts. 62 of them in his 62 innings of work. And so, a relief pitcher and an outfielder here they're going to get and trade for Jose Miranda. 24 years old, so a little bit older on the prospect side, but a beat potential player here. And, good contact ratings. 53 and 67, especially against lefties, so looks to be pretty good. Decent power there, good vision actually, which will help him out. But the defense isn't great, but that's to be improved upon. But he's going to be probably a starter for this Rhinos team. They are in rebuilding mode, and they're looking to get another young player to add to kind of a core that they're looking to build here in Richmond. So you go to their lineup here, and we're going to go over to the Mexico City Diablos. Now we're going to go to the team that they just made in that trade, and that was the Firebirds here. So, yeah, I mean, this team needed some outfield help, and, Luis Garcia is listed there right now as a starting outfielder, but he's not very good. He didn't do very well at all in the regular season, and this team is looking to push into a postseason spot here, and they look to have Eddie Rosario be a big part of that push for them. Right now, as their outfield now looks a lot better. Jesse Winker is out there in the outfield for them as well, and Victor Reyes listed as our starting center fielder, but, we'll see if he's actually going to be the starter going into the year. But, yeah, I mean, they needed an outfielder for sure, and that was a guy that they looked to get there. As there is, well, we're going to try and find him here. They had Olympus Diaz, remember, in free agency. There's Jose Miranda. He's already listed in there starting as a starter there. They got Bo Suarez in that draft class here, and, they have a couple of, I think this team's farm system is honestly not too terrible. They have some younger talent, and their pitching is good, and it's on the younger side. So there's their arbitration negotiations, by the way, looking to get Cody Bellinger back as well. He's kind of the bigger name that they have. There's $17 million on an arbitration offer for him. But that's a big trade there that just went down. And we got a few more here. The Rhinos here looking to trade Madison Bumgarner, so the Rhinos are not done moving some older players here. And Madison Bumgarner, beat potential guy. I mean, he's maybe past his prime, but still a decent starter here. And had an alright year, an ERA below 4, so definitely better than his last couple of seasons. Kind of on par with what he did in 2019, but 190 innings, 196 hits. I mean, the whip is a little bit high, but still got 2 years on his contract here. So the Dragons looking to have him for a couple of seasons, but Madison Bumgarner there, and a catcher there, a minor league catcher. So not a lot that they're going to get in return here for Madison Bumgarner, but they're going to go after Ty Madden, who is a starting pitcher, 23 years old, beat potential guy. And, I mean, overall, pretty decent pitcher here and almost ready, probably maybe only a year away from being in the major leagues. And so that's the trade that the Dragons will make with the Rhinos here. And, yeah, that's taking away from that rotation there, but the Dragons rotation got a little bit stronger here, and, I mean, I think it's a good pitching staff. I mean, they got Bieber and Soroka. Now they added Mad Bump to the mix. Kenta Maeda is there as well. And so, yeah, I mean, you got the three kind of younger pitchers here for the Richmond Rhinos, and they're going to have to figure out who they want to get to fill those last few spots. But that's a couple of big trades there for the Richmond Rhinos here, trying to improve the team and trying to get some younger guys in there. I mean, you got Rafael Santos, who I believe was a draft pick that they had in the offseason. He's got 8 potential. He's only 23, though. You got Andrew Painter, a 19-year-old pitcher who they traded for last season. So, they got some younger talent there. Of course, he's only 25, but he's a guy that has beat potential as well. Nate Pearson has got 8 potential. He's a 26-year-old pitcher, probably going to be a starter for them going into this next season. But, yeah, some younger talent, some younger pitching talent there for the Richmond Rhinos, and I don't know if they're done yet in this offseason, but there's a couple of big moves that they just made. And so we got another trade here. The Jazz looking to move on from a younger catcher here. The Honey Badgers, they didn't get a ton of talent in their free agent market. They were trying to go after some big names, but they kind of fell flat on all of them. And so they're looking to make a move with the trade piece now, and they're looking to get a catcher here to replace Jorge Alfaro. William Contreras is going to be that guy for them. He's a younger guy, 25 years old, a up-and-coming catcher for the Atlanta Braves in real life. And, I mean, those hitting stats are really good. He's not going to be a great fielder. He's got good arm and accuracy, though. But, not going to be a great fielding catcher. But, man, he's got a lot of power. 63 and 74 power there. And yeah, Roland Contreras should be a decent option there at catcher, but a younger player here for them as they look to go and trade Daniel Espino, who is a 68 overall potential pitcher here, and a 57 and 58 hit at K-9 ratings there. His lowest rating is right now a 41 in the walk per nine, but a 22-year-old potential player. And I mean, I like Daniel Espino. I think he's got some talent there, and one of the top 50 prospects for William Contreras, a younger guy. But the Jazz needing the help on the trade on the pitching front, and so that's an interesting move right there. But for the Jazz, I mean, they kind of need some pitching talent there and some pitching help in their farm system, and so they get a good young pitcher there. And William Contreras, I mean, it's kind of a swap of a couple of younger prospects. But this is a team that made it to the LCS last year. They're looking to win right here, right now. And, William Contreras is kind of more of a maybe long-term option there at catcher for them. But, I mean, Jorge Alfaro is a good catcher, but I think he's much more of a backup. They might trade one of those two guys, though. And at some point, I think I might move on. I mean, they got Eric Haas as well, who's a 76 overall catcher on their team. He's going to be probably in the minor leagues, but that was a big move there, and he's now their starting catcher there. And we're going to look at the Chinooks here, and the Chinooks maybe going to be looking to make some moves. They're a team that's didn't do well last season. They're a team that is kind of looking for some moves to be made, and not a great team here going into probably this upcoming season. So what are they going to do to get some younger talent on their team here? Let's see. As we're going to look for a trade, and this team right now they're looking to probably move on from Chris Sale, who's got another year left on his contract here, a 34-year-old pitcher with 8 potential, and last year maybe it wasn't the best for him. It definitely wasn't as good, and only pitched 47 innings last season. But an over 4 ERA for Chris Sale overall, but a guy with a lot of salary, I mean, that's a lot of money, but looking to kind of unload him in his contract, and so we're going to get him on a team that, is a team that's a contender, going to be a contender next year, and is going to try and push for a postseason spot. So, Chris Sale looking at being moved on, and, I mean, we go to the Vandals at first, and just trying to make this move work. And we don't really figure it out, but I think I'm going to come back and check in with you guys. I mean, the Vandals probably need a pitcher, so maybe they're a team that's in the running for Chris Sale to try and get him. But we'll see if they have the prospects, because that's what the Chinooks are going to look for. They're going to look for at least a high B, probably 8 potential prospects to get in return from Chris Sale. So we'll see what kind of team or which team can make that happen. And I'll be back when I figure out a move. So I think the issue was the Vandals they did not have really any younger players or prospects that I was willing to move on from them. I mean, they had Benny Montgomery, who's, Benny Montgomery and Kyle Isbell are a couple of young outfielders that team has, but I kind of see both those players figuring into the actual picture of that team going into next year. I think both of those guys are going to be starting for that. For the Vandals here going into next season. So that doesn't really work. I'm not going to trade them. I'm actually going to add a relief pitcher into the mix here on this trade in Nick Vincent, a 36-year-old C potential, a 71 overall relief pitcher who actually pitched really well last season. And so that's going to be a guy that I'm going to look to move as well and kind of package here with the Chinooks. And, I mean, the Vipers were a team that I'm looking and considering here. Gavin Williams is a younger pitcher prospect here that they have that I'm looking at. Maybe that's a guy that we can move on from. They had, that kind of that infielder there that we kind of added to the mix, but it didn't actually help their team here. Henry Fisher is, by the way, a drop pick that they got in last season, and man, he looks really good. He's got a lot of power there, and we'll have to focus on him for sure a little bit going into next season. But Nick Gonzalez is, a 23-year-old potential guy and almost MLB ready. that we can maybe add to the mix, but that is not actually even making it done. And, Gavin Williams, Ficklin, Moore, and Nick Gonzalez, all three of those guys, all three prospects there added to the mix to try and maybe get this move done. And, definitely interested in making the deal. Both of these sides are interested in making this trade. But, I'm not sure if we're going to actually go through with this or not. And, I'm just considering, the Vipers, does Nick Gonzalez, do they really want to get rid of him? Because Nick Gonzalez, or not really get rid of him, but do they really want to move on from Nick Gonzalez? This is a guy that I think is going to be probably part of their core going forward. Their infield right now isn't very deep. Franklin DeBoer, he's all right. 24-year-old beat potential, but I kind of think for the Chinooks here, they're looking for an 8 potential prospect. And, maybe they can get, maybe 3 beat potential guys would be fine for them to try and get, but I think they're looking for an 8 potential guy here. And so maybe it's just Gavin Williams and Nick Gonzalez, but that's not going to be, the value is still favored over to the Chinooks. So this is not trying to figure this out with the Vipers, and I'll kind of get back to you guys. Matt Chapman, he's also a free agent going into next year, so I don't know if he's a guy that I could figure trading as well. But I'll come back to you if this is a team that we actually make a move with here. And so the Millers were also a team that I was maybe looking at trying to make a move for here. But the issue with this team is that they really don't have any 8 potential prospects in this Millers farm system, I don't think. So they have, a few guys that are high beat potential players, but they don't have any 8 potential guys, and that's definitely a hampering there for them. They got Connor Norby, who is an infielder, second baseman, a younger second baseman there with beat potential. Julio Ramos is a decent outfield prospect, but yeah, they just don't have any 8 potential guys there in that farm system, and honestly, that farm system isn't that great. And so we kind of moved on from them. And yeah, I decided to move on from the Vipers. Really, I'm looking for an 8 potential guy to trade. And then we go to the Rattlers, and this team can use the pitching help. And Grayson Rodriguez actually makes this deal possible already, and moves the needle quite a bit. Grayson Rodriguez is a guy that I was probably going to have start for the Rattlers this season already. 23 years old, 8 potential, and really good K percentage, except for his walk percentage. His walk percentage is low, and I think that is a concern that you would have if you're the Chinooks, is that low walk percentage. But he's still very young and has a lot of potential, so I think we need to add a couple more guys onto this trade to make it a little bit more spicy and a little bit more favorable for the Chinooks here. Michael Toglia is a guy that we were maybe looking on. He had some big swings in the AA playoffs, if you remember that episode. But 24 years old, beat potential hitter here at 67 overall, and honestly got good hitting ratings. And so, yeah, I think the Rattlers also would like to get a relief pitcher here. So we might need to add some more to this deal, but this is probably the most even trade right now, Grayson Rodriguez and Michael Toglia, that we have found so far. And so we'll see if this is the deal that we end up making between these two teams. But I think this is pretty fair, honestly. And Nick Vincent is a really old relief pitcher here, and Chris Sale is getting up there in age now. He's just a couple of 35. So yeah, looking for a potential guy, and this is what we're going to end up doing here. So Grayson Rodriguez, yeah, we're going to go back into it, but I think that's basically what this final trade is going to look like here, and I'll come back to you guys when we actually get the final trade maxed up. But yeah, the Rattlers here looking to make a big move and a big swing on a trade for Chris Sale right now. So I think you look at this Colorado rotation really quick, and you got Lance McCullers there, Blake Snell, Matt Manning, really young pitcher, Julius Patino, really young pitcher, Brent Anderson as well. You really don't. Lance McCullers Jr. is their ace. He's an over 90 overall pitcher, so it's not like he's bad or anything. But I think you could improve on that, and Chris Sale would potentially be a true ace starting pitcher for them. And you look at the bullpen there as well that they have, and the bullpen for them, not really great. And so right now, man, I really had to think about this And, I mean, it was between the Vipers and the Rattlers about who was going to make this trade and who really needed the help in the pitching side more. Because, man, the Vipers, I mean, Tanner Houck is a decent pitcher, but he's not really that ace kind of caliber, I don't think. So they really need, I think they probably need some help there. And, I mean, Wade Miley, you know, they signed him from San Diego, or from Kansas City. And, you know, he's a decent pitcher, but he's 36 years old. He's a 73 overall. I don't know how well he's going to really perform this season for them, and he's definitely not an ace. So they kind of need that help, and those are the two teams that I'm really thinking about right now and considering and choosing between to make this move happen. And so this is the trade that I end up settling with here, and you know I think Chris Sale, I mean 34 years old, you know gonna be he's going into his 34-year-old season, and last year, I mean it wasn't awful for him necessarily, but it wasn't great really either, and so maybe he's kind of a pitcher that's past his prime. I mean, he's 90 overall, so he should do well in simulation and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you wanted a potential guy, you wanted at least a high B potential guy for Chris Sale, and I honestly think that Grayson Rodriguez is pretty good value for Chris Sale and a pitcher like him at this point in his career. And, you know, just some bullpen help addition as well to this trade for the Rattlers. I mean, Nick Vincent, 36 years old, 71 overall. You know, who knows how good he's going to do, but he's got really good walk per nine. And, you know, in 82 innings last year, that's a really good sample size. He pitched a lot for Portland in that bullpen, and he was very good. I mean, it's 2.94 ERA and a 1.14 whip. So those numbers for Nick Vincent in the last season were really good, and that's a good indicator. That's a good indication of what he can do. And he's got a 3.24 career ERA, so he's been a good bullpen arm and a good relief pitcher for a while in his career. Michael Tongley here, a first baseman that can play a left field and right as well. Decent defense. I mean, really stable stats across the board for him. Really doesn't stand out in any one category, but I think he's only probably a year or two away from being a major league contributor on the offense for the Chinooks here, but the main guy is going to be Grayson Rodriguez. And yeah, again, the one thing that you were concerned about with him is, you know, that walk per nine. I mean, 66 and 72, and he had a K per nine. Those stats are really good. His other per nines are pretty decent. He throws 96 miles an hour, so he's got some velocity there. But yeah, 34 walk per nine isn't great, and honestly, that does concern me because I think, you know, walk per nine and hit per nine, those are the kind of the two stats that if the pitcher doesn't do well in those two stats, and those two stats are not very good for him, it can be a struggle for sure for a pitcher to do well in simulation with those two stats kind of being lower. And so Grayson Rodriguez, he might struggle a little bit. He might have some growing pains that he's going to go through in this season because he's going to be a starter on this team after that trade. I mean, this team is not going to be good on their pitching side. Tyler Moley is going to be their ace probably now. But, you know, they're a rebuilding team, and so they need to make that move, and they need to kind of get rid of some of those older players on that team. But, yeah, you know, Grayson Rodriguez might struggle this season, but he's got a potential, and he's a guy that should be, you know, hopefully you have him as a fixture of your bullpen going forward in that team's franchise there. As, yeah, Lance McCullers and Blake Snell now. Lance McCullers Jr., Chris Sale, Blake Snell, Matt Manning, and Luis Pacino. I like that pitching rotation for sure. That's a good rotation in my eyes, and you get Nick Vincent added to that bullpen. So, yeah, I think, you know, for the Rattlers, they're a team that right now is looking to push for a postseason spot. They were one game out of a spot for the postseason last year, and so that's what they're going to look to do for sure. And actually increased Nick Vincent's stats just a little bit because he did really, really well, and I don't know how much he got tanked in overall, but I definitely know he got you know, hurt a lot in the simulation, and he got tanked. Actually improved his overall a little bit here with that boost, but either way, good relief pitcher there at 36 years old, and so I continue to adjust his stats a little bit. I decreased it a little bit, but you know, that was the big trade there. That's a big starting pitcher move made for those two teams, the Rattlers and the Portland Chinooks, doing some moves and making some some additions there to those two teams. And here we go. We have a couple more, I think. But this one, yeah, this is probably the biggest trade of the whole offseason right here. Jose Ramirez, 30 years old, A potential, 94 overall, one of the best hitters in the entire league. I mean, 64 and 81 contact, 93 and 73 power. The vision, discipline, and clutch for him are off the charts. And, I mean, he can play any position besides center and right field. Yeah, I mean, last season he was very good. 33 home runs, 87 RBIs, an 855 OPS, 267 average. Yeah, I mean, those are great numbers for him, for sure. And a 3 WAR, maybe a little bit down from his WAR last season, but this is one of the best hitters in all baseball. I mean, everybody knows Jose Ramirez is just an elite hitter. And, this is his last year. He's going into his last year of his contract here this season. And, the Blue Sox are not a great team. They're looking to rebuild, and they're going to make this move, and they're going to get a couple of great prospects from the New York Honey Badgers. Luis Garcia, 22-year-old B potential player there on the shortstop position. But the big move that they're going to get, their big guy that they're going to get here is Jason Dominguez. Jason Dominguez is a top 5 prospect in all of baseball. 74 overall player here. Great. I mean, his defense is really, really good at 81, 75, 70, 87. Those are great outfield ratings on the field for him. 51 and 61 contact ratings. The power is, decent. I mean, the contact versus lefties is really good, but yeah, I mean, he's a great hitter right now, it seems. He's got a little bit of growing to do, probably. But right now, he's really good. There's 74 overall. I think he's got like 97 or 98 potential or whatever. But yeah, I mean, this is a top prospect in all of baseball. Only 20 years old. The Honey Badgers are looking to win right here, right now. And they are going to make another big addition to their team here. And that was a monster trade. I mean, yeah, probably the biggest trade that they're going to have all offseason here that we're going to see for this entire offseason. And, the Blue Sox are retooling. This is a team that didn't do very well in the last season, and they're a team that is going to look to improve. They're looking to rebuild, and that's going to be one of their biggest guys that they look to move on from here, and they get a top prospect in all of baseball here in the top 5. In Jason Dominguez. So Jason Dominguez will probably start this season in AAA, and he is a guy that, at the moment's notice will probably be called up. I mean, this outfield right now for the Blue Sox is not very good. You got Alex Verdugo there, and you got Connor Joe right now listed as an outfielder, Sam Hilliard as well. This team is going after Kevin Kiermaier right now for the offense. They do have another outfielder there on their bench, but yeah, they're going after Kevin Kiermaier right now in the offseason here in free agency. I mean, that's a guy that's not going to do well for you offensively, but got great defense, and it will be an option there in the outfield for them. And they got Corey Dickerson as well there on the bench. But yeah, I mean, for the Chicago Blue Sox, they need an outfield right now, and that's going to be a guy in Jason Dominguez that will be a part of their outfield for a really long time to come, for sure. But, man, a huge trade right there, and, I mean, the prospect pipeline for the Honey Badgers here is basically non-existent now. It has been taken away almost completely. I mean, they don't have really any prospects anymore, but yeah, this team now, I think that roster I think the roster right now constructed in New York is maybe the best roster and one of the better teams that we see in the league. I think between them and the Nashville Stars, those are the 2 best teams in baseball at the moment. And the Jose Iglesias, the Blue Sox are going after him as well in free agency. So, yeah, I mean, the Blue Sox are going to be pretty bad probably going into next year, but they're going to look to be building around, Jason Dominguez. They drafted a really good first baseman there, a top prospect for them. Homer Santos one of the best guys that they drafted as well in the draft, and they're going to be building around him. And so they're going to look to be building around a good young core. And Jonathan Villar is going to be called up to the majors, but Jason Dominguez is now going to be a monster part of that rebuild and a monster part of this young core that the Blue Sox are trying to build here for their franchise. So we're gonna this lineup looks like an absolute mess right now. Jonathan Villar is going to be put into that starting lineup right now for the moment. But yeah, I mean, we don't have. I'm not going to have Jason Dominguez start. He's, he did actually. I don't know why they didn't call him up at the when they went into the offseason or went into the postseason actually for the Honey Badgers, and I don't know why they did that. I don't think that was a good move for them because now that basically was a waste of an option for Jason Dominguez because now we're going to have to call him back down again to Double-A. But yeah, either way, that's going to be, we don't know exactly what this team's going to look like here going into this year. Jose Iglesias and Kevin Kiermaier might be a part of this team as well. They got Brandon Crawford, 36 years old. I mean, he's a guy that I might look to move on from as well, but yeah, not going to probably get a lot from him, and, didn't do very great last season, only batted .233, so probably not a lot of potential there in that kind of a move, and not a lot that they're going to get from Brandon Crawford. But that being said, we're going to move over to the New York Honey Badgers, and, we knew what they needed to improve on in the offseason, and it was this offense, and they needed a shortstop. As Ha-Seong Kim only batted .198, he was just not good enough. He's a backup and really only there for his defense. So they're looking at, this team right now, they are moving in this offseason. They made some really big moves. They traded for William Contreras, and now they just traded for Jose Ramirez, and they signed Jose Abreu in free agency. This offense looks so much better now with those moves being made. Yelich, Jose Ramirez, Aaron Judge, Austin Riley, Jose Abreu. That top five batting order right here is in really good shape. That is a great top five hitting class. And Jose Ramirez had a pretty decent year last year, but remember, he was on a pretty bad team, and so surrounded by these type of hitters, he might do even better than he did last season for New York, who is looking to make that postseason push. And this is a championship caliber roster right here in New York. So big move made right there for the New York Honey Badgers, and I think that might be one of the bigger trades. That's the last really big trade that we have for in this episode. I do believe we have a couple more smaller moves that are made, and actually we're moving on a little bit in the offseason here, and Luis Severino goes to the Jazz. No longer considering the Sharks. So there's a couple of teams who are offering for Luis Severino, a younger starting pitcher, but the Jazz get Luis Severino as one of their starters here. And Boston really in rough shape with that pitching staff right now. But yeah, the Jazz get Luis Severino. This is not a team that, they were decent last season, but a kind of a younger team. But yeah, Luis Severino at, only less than 30 years old. They didn't have a great season last year, but there's a guy that they're going to look to improve and add on and get better as his season and as his campaign goes on. But we continue in the offseason, and I don't know if nobody else really major signed apparently, but we're now into January for sure here, and yeah, we're getting close to the end of this season going on right now. And I'm sure it gives me a notification whenever anybody signs because I'm controlling all 30 teams, but we simulate another week here into January. And no movement in the free agent market. Okay, we simulate a few more days, and Roberto Perez accepting a contract offer. He's going to go to the he's going to go to the Wizards here in Winnipeg. And Roberto Perez actually had a pretty decent season on offense last year for, I believe I can't remember who he was playing for actually, but that's a big signing right there for Winnipeg here as they're trying to get a starting catcher, and, Keeper Ruiz is going to move over to be their full-time DH now, as you see, starting out there is going to be Yeah, Evan Skoog and Kyle Higashioka was actually their starting catcher for most of the year, and he was just absolutely awful. So Roberto Perez is going to be that guy. We're going to call down Skoog to the minors. We're going to also probably call down Austin Allen as well here. So Kyle Higashioka is going to be a backup here, and actually Austin Allen was a Rule 5 draft pick, so we got to call down. Oh, and actually now we can see the developments for all these players. Finally, okay. Yeah, Roberto Perez actually developed quite a bit after last season, but now we can actually see development. So I guess it just glitched out in the regular season that we weren't able to see development for some of these players, but now we actually can see them. So hopefully that's not an issue next season, and hopefully that is a problem that is fixed. Man, this bench is insane. They have a lot of guys on their bench right now. But yeah, Keeper Ruiz is going to be this team's DH. And Roberto Perez is going to move over to be this team's starting catcher here. And that's going to be what this lineup looks like. And I think the Wizards are not going to be done yet in the offseason. They're going to look to probably make another move, I think. And maybe make a slightly smaller trade right now. But they're just kind of setting their lineups. And, man, they have a lot of players up here right now. I mean, they're going to probably... I don't know if they're going to call down a lot of guys because spring training. I don't know. I blanked on what that was, but spring training is coming up, so they might not actually really need to call down a lot of these players. But trying to get Miguel Sano into the batting order, I think here, but maybe not. Maybe this is what they're going to go with for the regular season. And actually, we are going to get Miguel Sano in the starting lineup here in the outfield, but. And Bryce Harper, I mean, I would maybe like to trade Bryce Harper, but his contract is so ridiculous, I'm not going to be able to do that. Nick Castellanos, another kind of older guy that's, he's still got a few more years left on his contract, so maybe they look to trade him next season, but, maybe that contract might prevent them from doing that, but I might just do it anyway, so we'll see. But, this team is not going to be great this season. They are a rebuilding franchise right now. And I don't know, their farm system isn't really all that amazing. So, yeah, they're maybe in a little bit of trouble. This team might be bad for a little while. But, wow, Willie Castro had some good development actually there. +5s and a couple of those stats for him. But, yeah, as I am moving this lineup around, we're going to get you to the last trade of this episode here that we did. And after this, we're going to get to opening day. And I'm not gonna kind of do anything with the spring training. I mean, there's just not really a point. I mean, I'll show you the rosters and everything, and as we'll cover basically every single team going into opening day, and as the season progresses, and we'll see the changes for these ball clubs in the next few episodes. But yeah, now we're basically done with the offseason. We're gonna have one more trade here. And then we're going to end this episode and end the offseason and get to the regular season. So some big moves being made there for sure. I mean, Chris Sale and Jose Ramirez, probably the two biggest trades that were happened there in the offseason, but a lot of other smaller ones for sure that went down. As it's going to be with the Wizards. And, not a major trade here by any means, but Alex Cobb. He is a 35-year-old guy, 74 overall, and see potential kind of at the end of his career here. But he actually had a really, really great season for the Wizards. And this is just a no-brainer kind of player to move on from here if you're Winnipeg. 2.81 ERA and 1.27 whip last year for him, and actually over 200 innings pitched. So Alex Cobb, one of his better years, and actually the most innings that he's pitched in a really long time. I don't even know the last time he pitched 200 innings. So yeah, Alex Cobb had a legitimately really good year at the mound for the Winnipeg Wizards here. But yeah, I mean, a guy at the end of his career, and see potential. He's not going to get any better than what he is right now, and he's not an ace. He's a good, solid 3 or 4 option, and this is his last year of his contract. And then Josh Van Meter as well, again, is going to go to the Barons. And Josh Van Meter, older guy, 28 years old. I mean, had a really good development actually. +7 contact versus righties and +6 contact versus lefties, or power versus lefties, I mean. But, he's a 20-year-old guy. He's probably going to be a backup here on for the Boston Barons. But, maybe could figure into a starting role some point later on down the line. He's only got a couple of years of MLB experience, and he does have beat potential, so he could get better as time wears on. But yeah, he kind of a utility guy for you, can play a lot of infield positions. And the trade here is going to be for Fernando Cruz, a starting pitcher, 19 years old, beat potential, and 64 overall. So yeah, not an amazing starting pitching prospect here, but beat potential pitching prospect all the same, and a young guy that Winnipeg can look to maybe build on for a future starter there for their team. So with that move being made, that's going to be the last trade that we have in this offseason. And that is going to be the last thing that we'll do here for the offseason of year one. So hope you enjoy these couple of videos. I know it was a little bit of a different format and, not any actual gameplay action for you. But we'll get to the regular season here pretty soon, as I'm still editing the opening day, the first opening day episode, and so we'll see when I can get that out to you. But yeah, the Boston Barons also really need pitching right now for sure, as they are down to only 2 starters right now, and so Alex Cobb will be one of those guys. They still need 2 more starters right now, but Devin Garcia actually will probably be a starter for them as well. So they probably only need one more pitcher right now on their team. But yeah, Josh Maynard is going to be a backup outfielder or backup infielder for them going into this season for the Boston Barons. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed these little off-season videos. I'm excited to get back to regular scheduled gameplay next time, and I'll try to edit that video as quick as I can and get that out to you guys. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Year 2 is upcoming here as we get to the regular season, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel to get more from me, and I will see you in the next one, everybody. Have a great weekend, have a great day, and God bless.